I was a bit more outgoing and crude when I was in junior college. I think I was trying to make up for my years of shyness and insecurity through my childhood and teen years. I drifted back and forth between a group of older party people and another group of social misfits. They were both fairly large, and unless you were very vocal, you didn't tend to stand out. In later years, I spent more time with the misfit group than the party group. There was a person there I met. We'll call him Z. Z was a large person, both height and weight. They were male presenting, about 6'2", 250 plus pounds, and often wore a black fedora. They were not very vocal, but seemed friendly in a shy way. We spoke maybe 5 or 6 times, very briefly. I would not count this person as more than just someone I knew. We were not friends or close at all. A couple of years after I left junior college to another college, I received a friend request and messages from them on Facebook, speaking casually and just wanting to know how I was. I found nothing wrong with it, as I had many people from my past get back in contact with me this way. Many of their messages were simply casual conversations, usually gaming related or videos. They liked to make badly altered pictures of themselves with things such as pro gamer and collages. They occasionally asked me to meet at a bar or for coffee, but I was not very interested in anything outside of my occasional online conversation with them, and even then, the conversations were lacking. They also sent me another photo collage that described me as beautiful and handsome, using 3 of my profile pictures. I find it rather creepy, but I am someone who has a hard time being directly rude, so I continue to keep my answers short, not answer very often. One day, Z sent me a long and winding drunken message, or they said they were drunk, confessing being in love with me, saying they fell in love with me since the day they met me, and that they wanted to understand me. They said that masturbated to me many times and mentioned my ex who had passed away recently. I was extremely uncomfortable with this and did my best to explain that I found it rather intimidating. I did not want any kind of romantic relationship at that moment, as I was focusing on school. I also had feelings for someone else and mentioned that as well. I did my best to be kind and not disparage their feelings, and they seemed to understand. They did not. A couple of weeks passed and they prepositioned me to receive oral sex. I ignored their message. More messages began to come, telling me of their relationship with their dead mother and how their first love broke their heart, finding out she was a lesbian. It was a giant amount of self-deprivation. They continued to send messages of love and confession, continued to send them one after another. I was still trying to be nice, but made my discomfort well known. I was not this person's girlfriend, therapist, or anything other than an acquaintance. I told them that they needed to get a therapist and help for their depression. They apologised and sent another long message, telling me of their gender issues and possibly being trans. This is the reason for my choice of pronouns. Again, I told them they needed a professional person to talk to, and that I was not able to help them in the way they were asking of me. They finished the conversation with a rather frightening video that seemed like a suicidal attention or threatening message. A week or so later, they began to beg me to talk to them more, sending long messages after long rambling message of someone who is trying very hard to be sophisticated but has no idea what their words actually mean. They repeatedly mentioned my ex's death and continued to send requests for sexual activities. I finally stopped being nice and was very curt, explaining that I did not like their intentions or using my ex to try and get closer to me and to leave me alone. They listened for a while, then continued again. The message is long and confusing and just beyond strange. After weeks of ignoring and them not getting the message, I told them to stop messaging me and that I was uncomfortable with them and their messages, and constant disrespect of my wishes would not make me have feelings. They flipped out hard, telling me to go rot, and blocked me. They made another graphic with my face and shattering glass. A month later, the messages began again, apologising and asking for me back. The same rambling and insane text. I blocked them from contacting me. I thought it was over. 3 months later, I received messages from another account, with graphics of letters and dark poetry and writings. They were saying things like they were the Antichrist. I was just amazed by all of it, but as I was leaving on a trip very soon, I did not bother to block the second account and ignore the graphics. I was 3,000 miles away from home when I got on Facebook and received a long message from Z, giving me a request and a letter to give to their first love. They were sending me a suicide note and a horrible message blaming this girl for their death. What followed was a picture of them with a sheet around their neck. I called the police and gave them the person's name and said what they were doing. I spent the night crying to my friends I was staying with. I had no idea what happened to Z until 7 months after this happened. They sent me long messages again all at once, explaining their gender struggles, therapy, and yes, once again, proclaiming feelings. I was done. I sent a long and very volatile message, telling them to fuck off and never contact me again, or I would be putting a restraining order on them and file for multiple harassment charges. I immediately blocked the second account of theirs and found myself incredibly relieved that we had never met up for all those times they had asked, and that they never knew where I lived. I've heard very little of Z since then, with one exception. Someone we both knew through school messaged me months later and asked if I knew Z. I replied yes and explained that they were not right in the head. He agreed, as Z was proclaiming to him that others, that I was the Antichrist and a vampire, as well as the leader of the Illuminati. I have never gone back to my old junior college. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can also leave a comment below. All feedback, good or otherwise, is always appreciated. If you have any creepy stories of your own, or have any topics that you would like me to cover, feel free to send them in via any of my social media. You can find all links to my social media in the description below. Until next time guys, make sure you lock your doors, stay safe, and I'll see you next video.